Right. So, at some point in the last few years, it became completely normal to refer to buying a house as getting on the ladder. Like it's a game. Like there's a ladder. Like you just find the ladder, step on it, and up you go. Nobody mentions that the ladder is on fire, or that the bottom rung is about 12 feet off the ground, or that the people already on it are looking down going, "Have you tried saving more?" while eating avocado toast, which, by the way, is not why young people can't afford houses. That particular theory can absolutely do one. I want to talk about this properly because I think most of what gets said about buying a house is either patronising, wildly out of touch, or delivered by someone whose parents handed them a deposit in a Hallmark card. And I don't want to do any of that. The truth is, my generation had it easier. I'm sorry, we just did. I bought my first place in my late 20s. The market was still mental by the standards I grew up with, but nothing like it is now. The gap between what people earn and what houses cost has stretched so far in the last 20 years that it's almost funny. Except it isn't funny, it's just grim. House prices went one way, wages went another. And then, brilliantly, the cost of everything else went up at the same time, just to really complete the picture. So if you're in your 20s right now, standing in a grotty rental with damp in the corner and a landlord who takes 3 weeks to reply to a message about the boiler, firstly, I'm sorry. And secondly, it's not a personal failing. The numbers are just bad. They are objectively, structurally bad. And no amount of cutting out your morning coffee is going to bridge a £40,000 deposit gap. But that's not actually useful, is it? Being angry on your behalf doesn't help you. So let's talk about what might. The first thing, and I know this one stings, is location. There's this version of success that a lot of people carry around in their heads without really examining it. The version where you land the job, stay in the city, rent somewhere vaguely cool with exposed brickwork, and then seamlessly transition into buying a flat in the same postcode. That version is, for most people, completely gone. It is done. It has left the building. I'm not saying move to the middle of nowhere. I'm saying, have you actually looked? Have you sat down with a map and a cup of tea and properly thought about what's commutable, what's up and coming, what's 30 miles from where you're currently paying through the nose for a studio the size of a decent wardrobe? Some of the best value places in this country are in towns that nobody's written a magazine article about yet. Towns with a train line, a decent high street, and houses that cost less than half what the same square footage would cost an hour down the road. The area might not be fashionable, it might not have a deli, but it has a front door that is yours, which, turns out, is quite nice. And then there's the income side of it. Most lenders will offer you somewhere between 4 and 4.5 times your salary, maybe 5 in some cases. So if you're buying a loan on $30,000 a year, you're looking at a mortgage of around $130,000, which, in most parts of the country, is not buying you much. 2 incomes changes the whole equation. I'm not saying rush into a joint mortgage with someone you've been seeing for 3 months. I'm just saying it's worth understanding how the maths works. 2 people on modest salaries have more buying power than 1 person on a very good one. That's just the arithmetic. And the deposit. God, the deposit. I'm going to say something that will sound brutally obvious, but if there is any way to live at home for a year or two and save money with genuine focus, that is probably the fastest route to a deposit that actually exists. I know that's not romantic. I know it's not the version of your 20s you had in mind, but there's a difference between renting and saving nothing and living somewhere temporarily uncomfortable while watching a number in a savings account go up. Some people can't do that. Home isn't safe, or home is far away, or home doesn't exist in any useful sense. I get that. But for people who have the option and haven't seriously considered it, it's worth sitting with. Even 18 months can mean the difference between spinning in place and actually getting somewhere. Shared ownership is another one that doesn't get talked about enough, without someone immediately going, but the service charges. Yes, the service charges. I know. But for some people, owning 50% of something real is better than owning 100% of nothing. It's not perfect. Very little is. But it's a rung. Now, here's the bit I want to be careful about. Because, and this is genuinely worth thinking about, buying a house is not automatically the right move for everyone. I know that sounds mad coming from someone making a video called How to Buy a House, but stay with me. The cultural pressure to own property is enormous, especially in this country. Renting is treated like a failure state, like you're somehow losing. And I think that framing has done a lot of damage. There are people stretching themselves dangerously thin, tying themselves to a location, committing to a relationship with a building for 30 years because they feel like they have no choice, when actually the choice just hasn't been explained to them properly. Investing regularly, even small amounts, in something like a stocks and shares ISA over 20 years can generate real wealth. Not exciting wealth, boring, slow, compounding wealth. The best kind. It doesn't give you a front door. It doesn't give you a wall you can paint without asking permission. But it does give you options. And options are underrated. I'm not saying don't buy. I'm saying if the numbers genuinely don't work where you are, doing something intentional with your money is not the same as giving up. It's just a different path. And sometimes it's the smarter one. But let's say you're going for it. Let's say you've looked at the map, done the maths, saved what you can, and you want to actually buy a house. What else? Get your head around a Help to Buy ISA or a lifetime ISA, depending on when you're reading this. The rules change. They always change. But there are government schemes designed to help first-time buyers, and most people don't use them as effectively as they could. Half an hour on the government website, not glamorous, worth doing. Talk to a mortgage broker early, not when you're ready to buy, before that, because a good broker will tell you what lenders are actually looking at, your credit file, your spending patterns, whether that subscription you forgot about is causing a problem, what you'd need to change, and how long it would take. That conversation, had 6 months before you need it, can genuinely change your options. And your credit score, sort it. It's boring, it takes time, and there's nothing dramatic about it. But if you've never checked yours, check it. If there are defaults on there from something you've forgotten about, deal with them. Lenders look at this, and a poor credit file can cost you real money in a higher interest rate over a very long time. Get a survey done. Not the basic one, the proper one. I know someone who skipped it to save money and discovered 3 months after moving in that the roof had the structural integrity of a rich tea biscuit. The survey costs a few £100s. Roofs cost considerably more than that. The thing is, and this is where I land on it, buying a house is not magic. It's also not the measure of whether your life is going well. It's a practical thing with practical steps that requires an honest look at your actual situation rather than the situation you thought you'd be in by now. And some people will do everything right and still find it genuinely out of reach for reasons that have nothing to do with effort or intelligence or how hard they've worked. That's real, and it's properly unfair. I won't dress it up. But I also know, sitting here having gone through it, that the people who got there tended to be the ones who decided clearly what they were trying to do. Stopped spending money that felt harmless but added up to quite a lot when you actually looked. Made some temporarily uncomfortable choices without too much self-pity. And kept going when it felt slow. Not inspirational, not a quote for a poster, just steady, persistent, unglamorous. The way most actually useful things are. I look at my boys sometimes. They're young enough that this is all a long way off. But I think about the world they're going to walk into. And I want them to know that it's harder than it was for me. Not because they've done anything wrong, just because that's the shape of it now. And knowing that, actually seeing the landscape clearly instead of comparing it to a version that no longer exists, is the thing that makes it possible to navigate. The ladder's still there. It just starts higher than it should. And that's not the end of the story. It's just where you begin.